A couple of quick notes. We are pre-selling tickets right now for next year's event, and I heard based on this upgrade this year with the Cardinal, we are honoring the Pope. It will be at the Ritz-Carlton now. Unbelievable, remarkable. So get your tickets now, people. Thank you very much, Ambassador. It is so wonderful of you to make time to join us tonight. And it is wonderful to have you make your home right here in New York City. We are honored to have you as part of our community, and it is so good to see you with us this evening. It is now my great honor to introduce the president of the New York Board of Rabbis and spiritual leader of Congregation Aderet El in Manhattan, Rabbi Gideon Shloush.
So I really want to thank Ambassador Dolan for those very touching words. So a rabbi, a priest, president of a congregation, and a member of a congregation all get taken captive. Before meeting their fate, they're each given an opportunity to share their final words. And the rabbi says, I have a great sermon to give. The priest says, I have a wonderful homily to give. The president of the congregation says, I have terrific announcements that I really want to make. And the member of the congregation says, please kill me first. So greetings and welcome. It's a great honor to serve as the president of the New York Board of Rabbis. I'd like to thank the many individuals who put together this exquisite evening. Special thank you to our dear friend, Rabbi Joe Potasnik, for his exceptional leadership. And our heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of you for your steadfast support. I want to tell you that a few weeks ago, I was in Israel for the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem. Now, to describe that experience is beyond words. It was an exhilarating 4-day celebration. It included walking in the path of the paratroopers who entered Lion's Gate to recapture the Old City and the Temple Mount. There were prayers at the Western Wall, lectures by chief rabbis of Israel, of South Africa, Great Britain. Natan Sharansky spoke, Mike Huckabee. But I have to tell you, for me, the highlight was the opening ceremony outside Jaffa Gate. We were joined there by at least 100,000 people, the Prime Minister of Israel, the President. And there was a sound and light show, and you can just picture if you're standing outside the Old City walls. Scenes were flashing on the Old City walls of different reminders of what took place here in Jerusalem. The binding of Isaac, 3,800 years ago. Jacob lying down and having his dream with the ladder. King David sitting in his palace 3,000 years ago. His son, King Solomon, had a temple there in Jerusalem. The destruction of the temple 2,400 years ago. The prophets, Ezra and Nehemiah, returning the Jewish people to their homeland 2,300 years ago. The Maccabean revolt 2,100 years ago. It was an extraordinary experience because it reminded everyone there that our connection to Jerusalem is not 50 years old, and the state of Israel is not 69 years old. It's the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Winston Churchill put it best when he said, the coming into being of a Jewish state in Palestine is an event in world history to be viewed in the perspective not of a generation or a century, but in the perspective of 1,000, 2,000, or even 3,000 years, and I would say close to 4,000 years. So how we must give thanks for the gift of the state of Israel. Particularly noteworthy, for 50 years in a reunified Jerusalem, Israel has guaranteed genuine religious freedom for Jews, for Christians, and for Muslims alike. Where else in the Middle East can all three Abrahamic faiths find themselves able to peacefully visit their holy sites? The New York Board of Rabbis serves such an important role. In addition to providing crucial resources for rabbis, we're the face of the New York Jewish community to the broader world. Comprised of more than 750 rabbis across the tri-state area, we're the largest interdenominational rabbinic body in the world. And we stand together to accomplish goals that are important to the Jewish community, whether it's chaplaincy work in prisons or hospitals, or protecting victims of violence, or making Israel's case, reminding the world that Israel is a beacon of light in an ocean of darkness. The New York Board of Rabbis continues to be there, and an area that we're especially proud of is our long-standing commitment to partner with other faith communities. As King David wrote in the book of Psalms, Hine ma tov u'ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. I want to give my very special congratulations to our honorees, Robert Tucker, and to Vincent Pitta. Thank you for your amazing friendship, your vital work that you do on behalf of the board, and how awesome that we're paying tribute this evening to His Eminence, Cardinal Timothy Dolan. Cardinal Dolan is someone who's dedicated his life to doing for others. He is personable, he is wise, and he's a man of deep faith. And how appreciative we are that he treasures and fosters the relationship that we have between our communities. He refers warmly to the Jewish people as our elder brothers and sisters in faith. Cardinal Dolan, thank you for your leadership and for your solidarity. Thank you for the caring and sensitive way in which you speak about the Jewish people's connection to and love for the holy city of Jerusalem, and how meaningful it is that we can all teach and champion the verse that is taught to us by the prophet Isaiah, Ki veiti veit tefillah yikareh lechol ha'amim. My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. May it be God's will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. And the Rabbi hit on so many beautiful topics. And one of them is that this remarkable board, this board of rabbis, works together to make people fall in love. To make people fall in love with their synagogues and with their religions. And as I look at the Cardinal, he has become such an integral part in the Catholic community of bringing people back and making them fall in love with the church again. And this is a time where we need a lot of that in all of our communities. And as we look ahead and look at the important work that the New York Board of Rabbis have done, on their behalf, I'd like to extend an invitation to each of you who may not be Jewish to come and spend a Sabbath in our synagogues, in front of any one of the pulpits that these great leaders preach from. And likewise, I will bet it would be a remarkable experience for each of us to extend ourselves, and whether it's a mosque or whether it's a church, go and enjoy a sense of the greater community and extend yourself to another house of worship. This is a time when we need to come together. And I would like to salute the New York Board of Rabbis for all they are doing to build an inclusive world within the walls of their synagogues and within the broader walls of their communities and their nation. So again, a big thank you to all of the pastoral leaders who are here tonight. I want to keep the evening moving. For some, like Joe Potasnik, this is the highlight of the night. It's when I introduce Joe Potasnik. It is my high honor to introduce Rabbi Joseph Potasnik, who is, yes, hold the music, hold the music, hold the music. He is the Executive Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis and the Jewish Chaplain of the Fire Department of New York. That's how some know him, but the vast majority of New Yorkers hear him every Sunday morning on 770 WABC Talk Radio, where for the last 212 years, he has been the co-host of Religion on the Line, the #1 hit in its time slot of 3 to 3:07 a.m. for the last 30 years. I would also like tonight to honor Joe's mother, who calls in every week to talk to him. He is also the religious commentator. Joe, really? You're in the presence of His Eminence, and you're trying to get points because you're the religious commentator for 10-10 wins. The Cardinal trumps you at every turn, Joe. Joe is what brings us all together. Joe is a leader. Joe is a cheerleader. Joe is a friend. Joe is an advocate. Joe is a mensch. And Joe is one of us regardless of who each of us is. It is my distinct privilege to welcome my friend, Joe Potasnik.
Good times never seem so good. I've been inclined to believe.
Would you all join me in thanking the MC, Lee Goldberg? Thank you, Lee Goldberg. Shalom to all of you, Cardinal Pache, and from the White House, happy Kafifi to everyone here on this evening. Let me just announce, it is 8:30, it's official. The person who put together the seating plan is now in the witness protection program, not to be found again. Thank you so much for all that you do. Let me also introduce two people who made a special effort to be here, the two healthiest members of the New York Mets, Art Shamsky and Darryl Strawberry. Thank you for 1986, Darryl. Thanks so much, as one from Boston. Let me also thank all of you who made great efforts in being here this evening. Firstly, some of you flew in on that red eye on Delta. Some flew in on the United Black Eye, which we understand has quite a takeout service. A number of you have asked me as I was walking in tonight, who's the mashgiach? Who's the mashgiach? Let me introduce the mashgiach to you. His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan. Thank you so much for supervising all the food. I learned much from this Cardinal. First of all, he taught me that Catholics have a happy hour. I told him Jews 15 minutes, no more than that. Impossible. Also, the Cardinal and I have learned together that Manhattan is the cleanest borough in all of New York. Right, Cardinal? Because whenever we would call, ask for money, what do we hear? He's in the shower. From 1 to 8, he's always in the shower. Let me, where is Ed Cox still here? Ed Cox here? Ed Cox, head of the Republican Party. Ed, I'll never forget, you called me. Right after President Trump went to Israel, you saw him putting the paper in the crack of the wall. You said to me, what did he put in that wall? I contacted Ambassador Dayan. We worked with the Mossad. Ed, we found out. We got it. The 2014 tax return. We got it right. Would you all join me in saying thank you to people who worked tirelessly to make this evening so possible? Hopefully their names will be posted up there. We have a lot of thank yous, but please join me in saying thank you to all those who worked to make tonight such a beautiful evening. Also, would you join me in wishing Stephanie Gary of Plaza Jewish Community Chapels a happy birthday. Tonight is her birthday. Tonight, Stephanie, will be the first time you'll ever see a candle that's not inside a glass. So that I know that's a very, very special moment for you. Cardinal, you've said to me many times, we Jews, we Catholics, we owe the Jews. We owe the Jews. So, in keeping with your wishes that you owe us, Tom DiNapoli, where's the controller? Tom DiNapoli, their unclaimed funds, we Jews, we're claiming their funds. They owe us. All right, thank you so much. Cardinal just said to me before, the Messiah will be coming from Bethlehem. Jews say he's coming from Jerusalem. We have members of the LDS, Latter-day Saints. Where are you? Latter-day Saints are here. There you are. He's coming from Salt Lake City. The truth is, he's going to have to get on that Gowanus. It doesn't matter. None of us are going to know in our lifetime. I was asked to say some words about someone who is known for his generosity, his giving spirit, his embrace of all people. Enough about Vinnie Pitta. Let me talk to you about Robert Tucker. Robert Tucker. Robert Tucker, as you know, does high-level security work, T&M Protection Resources, protects people who are very, very important. Robert has volunteered to be the personal bodyguard for Gal Gadot, the new Superwoman, Wonder Woman, and I think that shows much about his love for Israel. So, Robert, thank you so much for making that offer. I was at Temple Emmanuel in Closter, New Jersey. Rabbi David Seth Kirshner is here. He's the rabbi there. Thank you. And I said to one of the people who worked at the temple who works for Robert, I said, tell me how he treats his employees. And the person said to me, when you see how he treats his family, you'll know how he treats his employees. So Robert is a loving husband, father, son. He has many members of his family here today. Always, as busy as he is, finds time for them. So Robert, we know you're good to employees because you're also good to your family. Robert's grandfather, Richard Tucker, the great opera star, who was known as the sweet singer of Israel. We can say of Robert Tucker, he is the sweet protector of Israel. Thank you for all you do for our people and for all people, Robert Tucker. Years ago, the biographer of Winston Churchill was asked, to what he ascribed the greatness of Churchill. He said very simply, 50% intelligence, 50% independence, 50% integrity. The person said to the biographer, that's 150%. The biographer said, you don't know Churchill, he's more than one person. I think all of us recognize Robert Tucker is truly more than one person with all of the great work he does for so many people. Keeping with fire regulations, we have about 100 people here tonight. All right. Robert Tucker.
I'll be very quick. Rabbi Potasnik, my rabbi, asked me to say a few nice words about Robert. If he asked me to say a few not nice words, that would be difficult. Nice words are very easy. Coming back to the New York City Fire Department 3 years ago gave me the opportunity to make new friends. And I made a new friend here, Robert Tucker. It's hard to make new friends at a certain age, and I'm at that age. And Robert's a great friend. More importantly, that he's my friend, Robert's a friend of New York City Fire Department. and the New York City Police Department. More than 50,000 people that serve our great city. And he's a great friend of ours, and he does wonderful things for us. And he should be very proud of that each and every day, that he's not just a friend of mine, but he's a friend of every single New York City firefighter, fire officer, police officer, and officer in the New York City Police Department. He's a very great man. When I saw his father, Barry, earlier, I said, Robert's a mensch. And he said, that's one of the best things you can say. And I'll say it again, he's a mensch. He's a very great man. Congratulations, Robert. Congratulations, my friend.
Rabbi Potasnik's asking me, should I stay up here? Like, I'm going to tell him what to do? It's your show, Rabbi. We're all just here. Thank you so much, Commissioner Nigro. My association with the fire department goes back a long way, and it's one of the great thrills of my life to be a trustee of the FDNY Foundation. Commissioner Tucker, it's a great thrill to be a trustee of the NYPD Foundation. It's frankly a great thrill to be a trustee of both of those foundations. I don't know that anyone else has ever done that, and it's very special. But tonight we're here to talk about the New York Board of Rabbis, and it's at the outset I would just say it's a privilege to share this evening with Vinny Pitta, who I know worked so hard to make tonight such a special night. Vinny, congratulations. You're an old friend of mine, and thank you. Your Eminence, I'm humbled and honored to share the dais with you. You know the relationship the Tucker family has with the Archdiocese of New York, which started with my late grandfather and Cardinal Spellman, then Cardinal Cook, and continued with my father and Cardinals O'Connor and Egan, and now, of course, with you. Just a funny story. The late Cardinal Egan used to tell people that he married me and Andrea. That would have been difficult because it was a Jewish wedding. No one ever had the guts to tell him that he didn't marry us. He did make a beautiful blessing at our wedding, which I'm still married to Andrea, so it obviously worked. My earliest recollection of the Tucker family relationship with the Archdiocese of New York goes back to October of 1975, when Cardinal Cook presided over a memorial service for my grandfather. I was 5 years old. That was the first memorial service in St. Patrick's Cathedral for a Jew, and it was my first time in church. So, Your Eminence, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship and all that you do for our great city and our country. Thank you to the New York Board of Rabbis, and particularly to my dear friend, Rabbi Potasnik. Serving as chairman of the Lay Advisory Board of the Board of Rabbis is one of the many fun parts of my philanthropic work. Working closely with Rabbi Potasnik and Rabbi Shloush and Rabbi Gerson, the board builds bridges in different communities and promotes Jewish values that strengthen the Board of Rabbis' role locally and internationally. It's also interesting, educational, and important to me on a spiritual level. I've never met anyone who could say no to Rabbi Potasnik, so when he asked me to chair the Lay Advisory Board, I was surprised, but obviously I said yes, and I've not regretted that decision yet, including tonight. My family's here. Nothing that I accomplish professionally or personally can happen without them, so thank you to Andrea, my daughter Zoe, my mom and dad, my sister Amy, her husband John, my niece and nephew Alexa and Matthew. I love you all, and I thank you for being here. Finally, this evening's recognition is very humbling, and I accept this award on behalf of all the members of the Lay Advisory Board, whose work I sometimes get the credit for, but whose efforts are every bit as deserving of this award as I am. So thank you, and good night.
So a couple of quick comments. You know, these awards mean so much. But Zoe, I know you just watched your dad get an award. He's a pretty big deal, and you should be really proud of him tonight. He's really something else, right? Our next speaker, I will admit, when I moved to New York, or moved back home to New York to take a job on the air originally 22 years ago, I was restless, I was anxious, I felt like a fish out of water, and it wasn't until I met our next speaker that I found a way to relax and indeed sleep well. But the first time I heard his sermon, I was out in minutes. And he became my personal rabbi. I am proud to call him my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Westport, Connecticut, it is my special honor to introduce the spiritual leader of the Conservative Synagogue in Westport, Jeremy Wiederhorn, a diehard Detroit Tigers fan. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Wiederhorn.
What Dave didn't say is that I also officiated at his wedding. And after his wedding, I also did his bris. Yeah. For his son. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Our honoree, Vincent F. Pitta, is the founding and managing partner of Pitta LLP and Pitta Bishop and Del Giorno LLC, dedicating his career to labor and management relations in the private and public sectors for over 38 years. His pro bono counsel to numerous charitable, civic, and professional organizations, and serves on the board of trustees of Samaritan Daytop Village, the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, the Peggy Browning Foundation. Now, Rabbi Potasnik, who we all love and without whom none of us would be here tonight, as we know, he always knows what to say. And so he describes Vinny as not only a phenomenal guy, but he says Vinny is a person of faith for all faiths. Isn't that profound? I have no idea what it means, but those are the words of Rabbi Joe. Doesn't it sound pretty amazing? But what I do know is that our tradition would say that Mr. Pitta spends his life doing sacred work. We are taught to treat workers with dignity and respect, to pay employees a fair and living wage, never knowingly put employees at risk of injury or death, to allow employees the space to make their own decisions about unionization. This is nothing short of what we would consider sacred and holy work. And I know so many of us are here to pay tribute and honor Cardinal Dolan and Robert Tucker. But how many of us here in the room today are here at least in part because of Vinny Pitta? How many here tonight? I think that speaks more than anything than I could possibly say. On behalf of the officers of the New York Board of Rabbis, we want to thank Vinny from the bottom of our hearts for his tremendous generosity and his support in making this evening so incredibly successful. Please help me welcome FDNY former Commissioner Sal Casano to join me in presenting this evening's award to Vinny Pitta.
To touch your hair and walk with me all summer long. We sang a song and then we strolled that golden sand. Two sweethearts and the summer wind.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Rabbi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules and fighting the monsoon-like weather to be here tonight. And I thank you for supporting this dinner and the profoundly good works of the New York Board of Rabbis and its partner in this initiative, the Mariano Rivera Foundation. By promoting tolerance, understanding, and mutual respect and cooperation by and among New York City's richly diverse faith, racial, ethnic, and cultural communities, each of these organizations plays a critically important role in bringing and keeping us all together. And each of these organizations reflects the heart and soul of the men who lead them, my rabbi and fellow Brooklyn Law School alum, Joe Potasnik, and former New York Yankee relief pitcher Mariano Rivera. Rabbi Potasnik, as was evident after the events of 9/11, when as chaplain of the fire department, you personally embraced and consoled hundreds of survivor first responder families. It is your lion's heart, your compassion, your assuring voice that brings comfort and strength to families of all faiths in their times of need and crisis. Your tenacious, lifelong fight for religious freedom, social justice, and a more caring society keeps alive Abraham's covenant with God, made more than 3,500 years ago. We salute you, Rabbi, and thank you, and we pray that God continues to bless and guide you and your fellow rabbis in your mission and rendition of numerous good works that you do every day. Mariano Rivera, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight, has led an exemplary personal and professional life as a son, a husband, a father, and of course, as the greatest relief pitcher in Major League Baseball history. While achieving fame and fortune, Mariano Rivera has never forgotten from where he came, giving back so much both to the community of his birth and childhood in Panama and to his adopted community here in New York. We salute and thank Mariano and pray that God will continue to shine his light upon him in the very important mission of his foundation. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to my fellow honorees, His Eminence Timothy Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, and the shepherd to more than 2.6 million Catholics, of which I'm one. Your Eminence, you are not only a beacon of light for your flock, but for all 8.5 million New Yorkers, regardless of the church, synagogue, or mosque in which they worship. And to Robert Tucker, my dear friend, Chairman and CEO of T&M Protection Resources, you're an outstanding and a philanthropic New Yorker, who after a distinguished public service career as a prosecutor, you've built a world-class security and investigation company, outdone only by your immense heart, charitable, and philanthropic ways. I am humbled to be standing before you this evening. I want to express my deep gratitude to the New York Board of Rabbis and Rabbi Joe Potasnik for this high honor, which for me is the culmination of a lifetime of blessings and good fortune, and one which I do not and cannot accept alone. Unseen but standing alongside me tonight are my parents, my wife, my children, my sisters and their families, my teachers and professors, my schoolmates and alums, my childhood and adult friends, my first bosses and professional mentors, Bill Shea and Milton Gould, my past and current law firm and lobbying firm clients, partners, associates, CEO, CFO of my firms, those people who birthed me, loved me, molded me, taught and tutored me, trained me and supported me in more ways than I can articulate, both personally and professionally. and without whom I would not be here tonight. I recently celebrated my 66th birthday, and I'm in the autumn of my life. My parents taught me to love and honor my God and my country, and to appreciate the intrinsic value and spiritual reward of hard work, loyalty, mutual respect, understanding, and tolerance, and of course, helping others less fortunate and in need. I am very much concerned and frankly at times despondent that the world in which my children live and their children will one day live is less safe, less tolerant, less understanding, less loving, and less forgiving than I ever imagined it could or would be in the 21st century. What bolsters and brightens me and gives me hope, however, is the leadership of people like Cardinal Dolan, Rabbi Tucker, Rabbi Potasnik, and Mariano Rivera, and the tireless efforts, good works, and missions of the New York Board of Rabbis and the Mariano Rivera Foundation, and of course the Catholic Church, to make our world a better and more inclusive place. Efforts, good works, and missions in large measure only made possible by each of you who most generally supported this event tonight. Closing, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the New York Hotel and Motel Trades Council. Those are the people who cooked, served, and prepared your meals tonight. I am proud to say the Hotel Trades Council was my first client, and even prouder to say that almost 40 years later, my partners and I continue to represent that union, and they're great members. On behalf of all those whose shoulders I have been carried here tonight, I thank the dinner chairs, my dear friend and brother, Michael Stoller, and Jim Orphanides, the dinner committee, and the New York rabbis for this high honor. I wish you all a good night, safe passage home. God bless you, and God bless America.
As we honor our last honoree tonight, it just struck me that everyone who's come up here tonight has done two things. As we honor them, they have honored the people who made them. Family and friends and loved ones, neighbors, relatives, mentors. And each has mentioned the role their faith and their house of worship has played in molding their lives. And it's a good reminder, because every year we get together, and it's wonderful that we can break bread and celebrate and have a few drinks and enjoy a night. But let's remember why we're here. It's the great work that the New York Board of Rabbis does, and by extension with honoring the Cardinal tonight, recognizing the importance of each of our houses of worship. On a night like this, it's very easy to take an award and wave it and say, I earned it and I'm incredible, and take it and celebrate the glory and pose for a picture and move on. But everyone honored tonight has a grounding, has a starting point, has a home base. And what occurred to me was that home base for all of these folks is their family and their house of worship. So it's a remarkable sentiment to recognize, and hopefully we can take that home and maybe think about it for ourselves. With all of the accolades we get, the attaboys that we get each and every day, what's important? You know, for the Tucker family, it's being together. It's recognizing the generations which went into creating that family that is sitting here tonight. And for Mr. Pitta, all those people who took him from being a young man and helped mold him into the gentleman we honored tonight. There's a beautiful simplicity to it all. And that is one of the things we celebrate tonight. Our house of worship, our faith, our leaders in our religious community, and those who practice whatever faith we have with us. So I want to tell you it is a great honor and has been tonight to serve as your host. And perhaps with all the luminaries that we've honored, and there have been so many over the years, tonight is a special privilege to be here as we honor His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan. And to begin that process, I'd like to welcome up Rabbi Lester Bronstein, the spiritual leader of Beit Am Shalom in White Plains, first vice president of the New York Board of Rabbis, originally from Texas, a Red Sox fan, but again, as the Cardinal will tell you, while we're molded in the image of God, none of us is perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Lester Bronstein.
How sweet it is to be loved by you.
David, Shkoyach, thank you. We say, Ein Navi be'iro. There's no one is a prophet in his own city, but that may not be true entirely. The person I'm going to introduce has brought a prophetic voice to our grateful city. His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, was named our Archbishop by Pope Benedict XVI in February of 2009. He was gracious enough to let us, the New York Board of Rabbis, greet him in a special ceremony at the Park Avenue Synagogue when he arrived. He forged a friendship which has only gotten stronger through the years. Our gain was Milwaukee's loss. He was the Archbishop of Milwaukee, appointed there by Pope St. John Paul II in June of 2002, and they miss him there. He was ordained to the priesthood when he heard that call. The Archdiocese of St. Louis in June 19th of 1976. Fast forward 25 illustrious, remarkable years of great service to his church, to his people, to all people. And on June 19th, 2001, the 25th anniversary of his ordination to the priesthood, the then Monsignor Dolan was named the auxiliary bishop of St. Louis by Pope St. John Paul II, where he chose for his episcopal motto, we would call that in the Jewish tradition, his pasuk, his motto, his deep spiritual verse. He chose the profession of faith of St. Peter, ad quem ibimus, to whom shall we go? His life, I am telling you, answers that question. He goes towards God's call every day, and likewise toward the call of human need. Cardinal Dolan was elected to a 3-year term in November of 2010 as president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, where now he serves as chair of the Bishops' Committee on Pro-Life Activities. And on January 6, 2012, His Holiness Pope Benedict XVI announced that Timothy, Monsignor Dolan, would be appointed to the College of Cardinals and wear the scarlet zucchetto. Following the resignation of Pope Benedict, Cardinal Dolan then participated in the conclave that elected Pope Francis in March of 2013. A remarkable career. I'm honored now to ask to join me here at the podium Mary Ward O'Connor Donegan, who is the sister of the late, our beloved, Cardinal John O'Connor, who was Archbishop of New York from 1984 till his death in 2000. He is much missed. We loved him, and we love you, and we are so grateful that you're here tonight to help present this award. Cardinal, would you please join us? Yes.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before.
It's a wonderful pleasure to be here this evening to congratulate you for this award. I'm thrilled at the fact that the hand of friendship that was first extended to the Jewish community by my brother, John Cardinal O'Connor, is now in the hands of Cardinal Dolan, the very esteemed person that we have here with us tonight. I really hope that this friendship continues for many years and flourishes forever. Mazel tov.
You are the best. Thank you. Thank you. Means a lot.
Cardinal, one more word. Sure. A humanitarian award. What is a humanitarian? Perhaps it's a person who fosters the divine breath within every human being. As we read in Genesis 2, Vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim. And God took the dust of the earth, breathed into its nostrils the breath of life. Vayhi adam lenefesh chaya. That form became a living human being. Your Eminence, you are an exemplar of a humanitarian, of a mensch, of a quintessential human being. You've been a great friend to our Jewish community ever since the first day you began your holy work in our city over 8 years ago. You are what we call in our tradition living Torah. So as your humble partners in the work of fostering the divine image within all humanity, we, the New York Board of Rabbis, are honored to present to you our 2017 Humanitarian Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. It means a lot.
Boy, oh boy. Rabbi Gronsky, thank you. Thank you for your gracious words. You could have gone on and on. And from what I hear from your congregants, you often do. All right? To be folks, to be here among so many friends, old friends, and yes, after this beautiful evening, new friends, to receive this distinction from the New York Board of Rabbis and from the Mariano Rivera Foundation, to be honored with such civic giants as Vincent Pitta and Robert Tucker, is for me a joy and an honor for which I am immensely grateful. And all I can say is thank you. I've had the privilege this evening of sitting with Rabbi Shloush, who of course is the president of the New York Board of Rabbis and has 750 rabbis under his leadership. By the way, I'm the president of the New York Board of Cardinals, and I'm the only member, all right? So I got a lot easier job. Lot of Catholics here this evening. Isn't that great? You can tell where they're. You can tell where they're at because of the number of empty wine bottles, but we are delighted they are here. I appreciated very much the kosher meal, all right? We Irish Catholics have kosher meal too. You know, anything with a potato and a bottle of beer is considered kosher. Rabbi, I appreciated your story about President Trump meeting at the wall, and you knew President Trump met Pope Francis recently, right? And of course, Pope Francis was wearing, we call it a zucchetto, you all call it a yarmulke or a kippah. And President Trump said to Pope Francis, "What is that funny thing you're wearing on your head?" And President Francis said, "I'll tell you this funny thing on my head if you'll tell me why you're wearing that funny thing on yours." But anyway. A serious word, everybody. I guess it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I had a visit, and many of you rabbis in the room would know of this gentleman, Cardinal Koch from the Vatican. He's the president of the Pontifical Commission for Jewish-Catholic Dialogue, and he does a good job. And he came back one evening and he said, "Timothy, my brother, I was just at a synagogue here in New York." And he said, I was ready to go in to address the people. And he said, I'm looking at the bulletin board at the synagogue, and there I see a notice from the rabbi simply saying, "Dear congregants, because of the repairs going on after the fire in their mosque, our Islamic neighbors will be using the synagogue every Friday during the day for their prayers, for their day of prayer. And Cardinal Koch, who had been all over the world in the work of interreligious dialogue, he said to me, I asked the rabbi, is this serious? And the rabbi said, of course it's serious. They're our neighbors. We get along very well. They do the same for us. And by that time, Cardinal Koch was crying. And he said to me, Timothy, do you realize that only in America could something like that happen? Only in America could there be such concord and respect and amity. That's the spirit of this evening, isn't it? Thanks be to God, we live in a country where there's not persecution, there's not violence, there's not oppression. Darn it, we get along. And one of the reasons we get along, folks, is because of splendid, sterling organizations like the New York Board of Rabbis. One of the reasons we get along is because of the radiant leadership of people like my good friend, Rabbi Joe Potasnik. And we can't take that for granted. 4th of July now is only a few days away. And we say this evening, as we celebrate that religious freedom and as we bask in the friendship and respect that we enjoy in this great city where it's so alive and vibrant, all we can say is thank God and God bless America and thank you for this award. All right? All right? You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, you should also know, some years ago when there was that tragic fire at Central Synagogue in Manhattan, it was then Cardinal O'Connor, Mary's brother, who said we open all of the doors of all of our churches in this area so that the congregants of Central Synagogue will have a place to pray. So we all are in this together. And in the famous Yiddish expression of Cardinal Dolan, help alle Menschen und mir zwischen sie, God of the universe, help all people, just include me with them. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Joe. What an elegant evening.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our evening. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. Hopefully, we will see you again next year. We will celebrate with one another. Until then, God bless each and every one of you, and good night.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to Jem, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.